guys, we got this. Let's go. Gun wide trips weak. Pros X go. On one. Ready?
Ready.
What's going on, everyone? AndCap24 here from HuddleGG, and today's video is going to be a little bit different than I normally do. I get this question asked a lot about the labbing process. How do I lab? How do I go through things? How do I do process of elimination? How do I come up with the things that I do? And I figured this would be a nice exercise to do in a YouTube video because I just had somebody in the Madden community that I respect, a pro player, that was talking about this play called wide receiver short post. And it's only found in the Bills trips tight end, and a lot of people have given up on it because it's very inconsistent about when this red route goes across the field, and wanted to know if I can help them out when it comes to learning that, right? So we're going to do this, and we're going to teach you basically how I would go about testing this, how would I go about looking into it and finding out what are the rules when it comes to beating this, right? And this is something that he was looking at against cover 2. So I'm going to show you just cover 2 today, although it does work against any type of cover 3 blitzes where you have seam flats, any type of cover 3 buzz. There are other defenses that this works against, but we're going to talk about cover 2 and just a labbing process so you understand how I go through it, okay? So we're going to call nickel normal Tampa 2 and call this wide receiver short post. The first thing you need to learn about labbing is hash marks. Some plays will work on one hash, and some plays will work on others. Some will work on both. Some will work in the middle of the field. You need to test everything from each hash. You need to test everything against each formation. I wouldn't expect you to go through every single formation, but if you're in a labbing state, you definitely want to check it against nickel normal. You want 3-3-5 wide. You want to do against dollar, dime, go through each one that you have in the playbook to see does it work any differently against them, and then find out the reasons why, okay? So we're going to first start off with this play, and I'm just going to call it, I'm not going to touch anything. And this X route, if I don't do anything with it, is basically going to stop in the middle of the field, and he is just going to be there. I'm going to take a lot of sacks. I'm going to throw the ball away. This really isn't about the defense. It's all about basically what my X route does. So just watch my X route, okay? Now, in the previous knowledge that I've had, a lot of times, depending on what vertical routes you have on the field, will change the way the X plays, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by putting the Y on a streak, okay? And we're going to test that to see, does that help my X when it comes across the field? You see that he still stops, okay? So unfortunately, the Y does not help my X route, okay? Now I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going from left to right. We're going to go to the B, right? Let's test to see if the B works, right? Does the B help me in any way to get this X across the field? Unfortunately, he does not. Now let's go to the next route, which is going to be the tight end, okay? Now put the tight end on a streak. Let's see how this works. Does that guy get over, and does he move? He does. See how he goes all the way across the field, and you're now able to catch that as he goes across, okay? So we just realized that the tight end goes ahead and does a streak. We can get it over. The next thing we got to realize and say, what are our limits with the Y and the B? It worked when they were here. Can I also put the Y on a streak with the tight end? Does it work? Let's check that out, right? So you're testing everything, right? And you can see the guy stops. So now you got to say to yourself, okay, I know the tight end works by himself, but it doesn't work in conjunction with the Y. Does it work in conjunction with the B? Let's check that out as well, right? Go over here. Does it work? The guy stops, okay? So right now it shows that the A can be the only vertical route on the field for this to work. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to say, you know what? Is it just the tight end, or is it just somebody to the right side? So I'm going to motion the Y all the way over, all right? And I'm going to hike it as he passes the tight end to see, can we do this when this guy motions over? Does he stop? He does stop. So right now it looks like it's just the tight end, right? So now what we're going to do here is we're going to move this guy all the way over and put them to the outside. We've got to know what we are working with when it comes to developing plays, right? So because this guy, does he have the ability to do this, right? Let's take a look at it. You see that the X stopped, right? So right now we know that it's just the tight end. There is a secret motion in trips tight end where if you move this guy from the short side over, he will stop right by the tight end. Let's see if this works. We can go ahead and do it. And these are all things I'm telling you that I do every single time I do plays to make sure that I do it. The X stopped. So right now, the only thing that we've known is that the tight end is the only route that's going to make the X go up the field. So now we have to find out what we can do with the Y and the B. We know that they work when they're on these two routes. Well, what if we put the Y and the B on smart routed ins, okay? And the reason why I'm saying smart routed ins is a lot of times I do smart routes to see how vertical they can go. This is supposed to be a 10-yard route, right? That's what is smart routed on first down. Can this work? And you're going to see it does. So you're going to see that I can go ahead and run this play with smart routed routes to the inside. Now let's do the same thing to the B and the Y on curls. Can I run curls? And these are things, I know this is going to be kind of one of those, videos that may take a little longer, but I want to show you the process I go through. Unfortunately, that time I did not get to show you because I was running out of time. And watch, X is open, so the curls work. So now I know I can either put those guys on curls or ins, and I'm going to be able to do it. Very, very important, because if I want to do a route combination to where I want to do something like this, to where I want to kind of have a backside option or whatever the case is, you need to know that you've got that ability. Does the B get open? Okay, now the X is going to go across. I know I can use those routes, okay? Fortunately, we're getting some inaccurate passes. Now, can I go outside with them? That's another question, right? Can I put the Ys and Bs on outside routes? Let's check that out. And you're like, you know what? Why should it matter, right? And you can see, still fine. But you got to check. You got to check because you don't know. Because in the middle of the game, when you're expecting that guy to go over and he doesn't because you put an outside route rather than an inside route, now you know that those are fine, okay? So we're in good shape now. We know that the tight end is it. The next thing you need to know is, does it work on the right hash mark? And does it work in the middle of the field? So I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to leave the Y and the B on their routes because we know that works. And you're going to see here that we're going to look to see, does the X go across? He does. Now, there's a difference between when running routes from the wide side of the field and the short side of the field, depending on how deep they go, right? If you see this, see how he's basically right over, see where that little logo is, where the heart is? He's right on that dot. If I go over here, you're going to see that he's a little bit wider, right? So the wider you are, see how he's in the front of the heart instead of the circle? That 2 yards worth of space is going to give you more elevation as you go up the field. So it depends on how you want to run it. But you can see that this works both on the left hash and the right hash. So you should assume that it works in the middle. And usually that's the way it works. If it works on one hash and it works on the other, typically that means it's going to work anywhere. And you can see that it's just the same thing. This guy will go across. So we know that, okay? So we're in good shape. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to test, does it work against other cover twos. So now we're going to go here. I'll just do it from the left hash because that's the easiest and that's actually the most beneficial because that route will get over, it'll throw about the 45-yard mark. So it's really nice in that regard. So let's go ahead and go to nickel 335 wide, okay? Real important. Going to just put the A on a streak. And what we're going to do here is going to wait on it, go to the outside. You can see that the X is open, and you're going to be able to throw this ball again over here and get yourself some yards. So 335 wide worked. We go to nickel 335 normal, which is important because if you look at this one, there's a blitzing guy. So it's a little bit different, right? So you want to make sure, does it work with somebody blitzing? What are the rules, right? Now I'm going to go over to the outside. You can see that guy actually stopped that time, okay? And I'm going to tell you that this Tampa 2 at a 335 is the most inconsistent because I can make this one work actually. I'm going to go call 335 Tampa 2 and you'll see that this will work sometimes and it won't sometimes. But you need to know that. And I don't know why it's this way because I can blitz other players and it's still going to, it'll still work. But for some reason, this has a little bit more finicky to it. See, now I called it again and I can audible to it and still work, but just in general, this one has a little bit of inconsistency on it. So if you're playing somebody who's got 335 and you're going against it, you may want to say, you know what, I can't rely on it. But that's the only one that I found, okay? Now let's go to dollar. I'm gonna go right down the list. So it's a dime, okay? So dime is a 4 down lineman, so is nickel, and you saw that 335 wide was 3 down. So you always want to look at it, okay? Does it look like it needs to have 4 down linemen to work, right? and that's not the case. You can see how dime's going to work, and it's going to work against dollar as well. We'll talk about that. You can see how this works, okay? Now, if we go against dollar, I want to show you something about dollar, and this is what brings up part of the way I lab, right? I go to dollar, and you're going to notice that dollar only has cover 2 press. When you go against some defenses, like, some playbooks, they'll have cover 3 press and not cover 3. See how there's cover 3 sky press? You want to go against those defenses that have press in the name as well, because they're going to be a different alignment than normal cover 2. So in this instance, it's just cover 2 press. I'm going to do it, and it's going to bring up a point that you need to lab. See how the guy on the left, he's no longer in a 5 yard off the ball? This does not work against cover 2 press. You see the guy stops. So when somebody's in a press alignment, it's not going to work. And I'm going to prove that to you by saying it's not dollar, it's cover 2 press, because I'm going to go to dollar. I'm going to go call cover 2 hard flats where they're not pressing. I'm going to put them in cloud flats so that we go ahead and control the variable as much as we can. And you're going to see here that when I put these guys in cloud flats and see how they're off the ball, you're going to be able to see that you're going to have the ability to throw it to them as well, right? So you go over here, and you can see that this guy still gets over, and you get your catch, right? So what we've proven so far is we know that it has to be a tight end streak. Those 2 guys in the slots cannot be on any type of vertical routes that are past the smart routed route. It can be on either hash mark, and it can't be against press, right? And when I say press, I'm talking about with the word press in the name, where they already start off pressing from the onset of the play. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to nickel normal to talk about this, right? So let's go to nickel normal, and let's make sure that when we go ahead and do this, let's just go to our play here. And because we already know that it works against nickel normal, I'm going to go ahead and look at this, and they're not pressing, right? I'm going to press manually, right? Where I go ahead and put those guys here, and let's take a look at this, right? Where we knew that it beat it when it wasn't pressed. We know that it doesn't work when it says cover 2 press. Let's see what happens here when they actually do press from that alignment. You can see how that guy stops, right? So I want to make sure you see that, you understand how that works. Now, what if they baseline press, right? I'll make sure that it's a different, alignment here. This guy will go ahead, baseline. Let's go see, does it go across? This time he did. And I'm going to tell you that that's inconsistent. It's going to be something to where, depending on the press ratings, depending how that guy gets off the ball, it could work and it couldn't work. It all depends on what it is. You can see how that guy's a little bit further out, and that way you can see this guy goes ahead. The first time it worked, does it work this time? It didn't, all right? So what I'm going to tell you here is don't rely on it when they're baseline pressed or in any press alignment at all, because it will affect it, right? We need to know absolutes when you want to run a play. An absolute is right now that if they're not in a press alignment, right, and you run your stuff, you know that you're going to be able to run it. So that's basically how it works against all your cover 2s, right? Now, does this work against anything else? The answer is yes, actually. If you're going against somebody that's doing something like a buck slant show 2, and I don't want you to think about the cover 2 alignment. All I want to think about is the cover 3 blitz, right? And you're going to see here that you're going to be able to go ahead and hit this guy right here, the X, the same exact way, right? So this guy's going to come across the field, and you can see how he goes across the field the same way. Now, unfortunately, we're just getting killed in these inaccurate throws, but it works against that. It's going to work against your Mike Blitz 3, where it's the same thing. And what it is it's a seam flat blitz. Basically, it's a cover 3 match blitz, right? So you see here, I'll pick Mike Blitz 3, and it's going to work the same exact way with that. Now, the other thing I want to make sure you talk about is actually there's a responsibility by your quarterback to stay somewhat close to the line of scrimmage to make this work. And this is the last caveat, because even when I gave the feedback, it wasn't consistent. And the reason why is because of the depth of the quarterback. Now, if you do this to where once you get to a point where the quarterback is too far away from the X receiver, he'll stop. So we're on the 30-yard line. I've noticed that if you're going straight back, it's 15 yards. Once you get to the 15-yard mark, that guy will stop. Okay? So anybody who's doing this big loop with their quarterback often will not get the same success, because they will stop their route, say at the 15-yard mark. You're going to see, and you can do it. Now, you can see the difference there is I ran with my guy. And it's distance between the player. So if I'm going with the guy, you saw how I kind of cheated a little bit to where, if I just go 15 yards and stop right here, he's going to stop where I'm at. If I go with him, then what he's going to end up doing is he's going to follow me up to a certain point. So you see here, I go here, say I get to the 15, and I'm going to continue to go this way with him, and you can see how he will continue to go with me. So it's about making sure that your quarterback doesn't drop straight back or he'll stop where you are at the 15-yard mark. So, if I over-exaggerate this to where I go like this, and I'm going all the way out here with it, you can see that he stopped because we're so far away from him, and we sprinted away from him, making the distance longer. If you stay with the guy, just kind of stay in the middle, and then you go ahead and just go out with him, you can see that he'll continue with you even though you're in the part of the 15 until you get to the point where the distance between them is too far. So I wanted to teach you everything about labbing something. Obviously, this is a very long video. This is something that it really shows you in depth of what I do when I go ahead and break down plays and understand them. So when you get a final product on our website, it's because you know every little thing about it. When I lab, I don't just go ahead and do a formation or a game plan that gets whipped up in a week. I'm playing in it for a while. I have to be confident and I know as much, if not everything about it, in order to make sure that you guys get everything about it. And that's kind of what we do with Huddle. So why don't I kind of go you through that the lab process? I know it's long, but it is something at least that you understand how to look at variables, how to change the variables, how to come up with a conclusion. And there will be one-offs. I'm going to be honest with you. You'll find something like, well, this doesn't work against, I don't know, nickel 335 odd, right? And then you just note that down. And the reason why you do that is because the coding from formation to formation is usually pretty close, but there'll be some outliers. And, you just need to know that. And when you know that, you'll understand, not everything's going to work against everything. You can't test everything against everything. But if you test against the ones that you mostly go up against and feel confident in it, and then you go in a game and it doesn't work against that, then you go back to the drawing board and say, okay, it didn't work against 335 odd. Let me go back to practice mode. Let me check it out. Oh, you know what? It doesn't. Okay, I need to make sure that I'm not running this against 335 odd. That's just the way that you go about it to really understand and make sure that your knowledge gap is stronger than your opponent. So that way you're always going to know and be able to predict the outcome because you've done the homework. And that's what this video is about, guys. Appreciate you, and we'll catch you on tomorrow's video.